For the connectivity project, it was actually almost a tease in the beginning because there wasn't enough information to start designing until the site visit. So there was about a month in between hearing I was a finalist and then seeing the site visit. So I could only, in general, research the area. And then coming and seeing the site visit changed everything. Because to be within the station, which is beautiful, the hand-painted Art Deco ceiling, the fixtures, the details that are all being restored, the location for the site with the massive window behind it, and yet it being a very narrow ledge. And then there's the very slight vibration of the trains, which is actually less than I would have thought. So actually walking around the whole building and coming back, I tried to at first just absorb everything. And then there was the guidance from the committee. I mean, there was the Heritage group has some very specific guidelines that I wasn't to match the Art Deco style. I was to create a piece that would complement it. And so looking at that, and then there was a weight limit on the floor. There were other parameters that I had to take into consideration. And also the place wasn't going to be just a train station anymore. There's going to be buses out front. And then I was thinking, who knows what kind of transportation there'll be in the future. Because connectivity is in front of a window. So I wanted to have all these openings so that it wouldn't look like it was blocking the window. And so I researched the trains that had been coming through Oklahoma City, going as far back as I could find images. And I took those cowcatchers and the pistons and the wheels and the windows, and those were what I drew to put in the piece. So if you look closely, you can see all of those images, and they do go back to the early train days right at the station. Connectivity, start to finish, is quite the process. First, there's coming up with the design, which was then led to the cardboard model. I was doing just little sketches on my iPad at this point. Once I got the cardboard model, then I had to figure out the scale. So, I kind of measured against the windows on my computer with the picture, just with this picture in Photoshop, and I'd figure out the size I wanted the piece to be. Then I drew it in CAD, and CAD, which is different from like drawing with a pencil, it's very specific arcs and lines, and so everything has to be drawn that way. I then drew out all those pieces, and then I had to figure out the weight because there was a weight limitation. And so I get those pieces together. I mean, just the drawings of them, don't do them. And then I started doing the proposal because at this point, I still hadn't won the commission. So I started rendering and drawing it in space, and that's where I had to really finalize the size and the scale. I didn't like it at all. I mean, I didn't like the rendering. And so I took my drawings in CAD and I created a small model of it. With the model, I could look at it from all sides and think what I wanted to do differently if I got the commission. So then I photographed it, dropped it in, created my proposal, came to Oklahoma City, and I won the commission. So the next thing is to go back and really finalize the sizes and the drawings. I realized the circles had to be broken into 2 arcs. I had to determine the size of different parts, and there were a couple things that I tweaked and changed, and then got that ready to go. Then I had to design the fuse glass. Now, fuse glass is where you take sheets of, it's basically special art glass, and you cut it with a glass cutter, and then you actually use Elmer's glue just a dot to hold the different little pieces together. If you look at them on the sculpture, you'll see different shapes basically floating in the glass. Then after that, it gets put in a large kiln, just like a ceramic kiln, and then it's fired until it fuses and melts. Then those were set aside for the moment. And then I ordered huge plates of stainless steel, had them water jet cut. Water jet cut is sort of like a water pick at 60,000 PSI. I mean, it's just this, and it has some abrasive in it. And literally to watch it, it's an arm that's cutting through the stainless steel plates. It's really kind of interesting to watch. at this point, it's okay, we got to label all this thing so we can actually take it apart and put it together. It's an older building. The shelf is really inaccessible except by scissor lift and ladder. And so the whole thing had to be taken apart, crated carefully because of the glass, shipped out here. And then I arrived with my installer, and then there was this installer from here who brought all the tools, and we unpacked the crate, took the scissor lift, took the pieces up, and piece by piece rebolted the whole thing together. I think public art is important because not everyone thinks of putting art in a space, and yet I find it a really important dialogue. It allows people to see things in a different way. I've loved it when people have mentioned to me that they consider my piece the entrance to their neighborhood, or, it allows them to identify. I mean, there's other things, of course. There's the natural world around them, there's the architecture, but I think art sends a different message because it has the artist's perspective. It touches different parts of personality and emotions. I mean, sometimes people don't even see it, but I think it adds a humanity to places. It can do many things. It can celebrate history. It can talk about patterns. It can be a photo opportunity for people. I think there's many reasons why it's important. And even when people don't like it, it creates a dialogue. It's something they notice, and it gives them a chance to think about it. Think about something else about the site, about their place, about the location, even about art.